Hey guys, so today we are going to be doing a reuse tutorial on how to reuse one of our mason jar candles. We have a couple of different sizes. This one is our largest size. It's one of the ones without the handles, and as you can see, this one has not yet been burnt out because they last forever. So I am going to use one of these prop jars instead. We are going to be making Halloween luminaries. So I've got a little green goblin and an orange pumpkin. There's a whole bunch of different styles that you could make. I'm going to be making a little skeleton face on mine. You could also make a ghost, or you could make a green Frankenstein. Whenever you are picking out what you want to make though, remember that we're using tissue paper to cover the mason jars here. So the darker color that you pick, the light inside won't shine through as well. So if you pick a purple or a black, it will still shine through, it just won't be as bright as one of these lighter colors. So what you're going to need for this craft, you're going to need some black construction paper to cut out your shapes on, some scissors to cut the shapes out on, and tissue paper, whatever color for whatever little character you're going to make. And you're also going to need some Mod Podge and some foam brushes. I have two different sizes here. You can use whatever size you want. For Mod Podge, I just have the basic matte version here. They have a shiny version, an outdoor version, a glitter version. Whatever works best for you. If you happen to have some around, just use whatever you've got. So your first step is going to be drawing your shapes on your construction paper and then cutting them out. I've already done that. I've got them right over here. So then I'm going to move on to the second step, which is tearing up your tissue paper. You're going to tear it up into smaller pieces. Some of these are pretty big still. Just so that they go onto the jar better. So once you have your tissue paper torn, you're ready to start. You are going to start putting Mod Podge onto your jar and just do a pretty thin layer so that you can start stacking the tissue paper on it. I'm just going to do one side of the jar at a time here. And then you just take a piece of torn up tissue paper, put it on until you've covered up all of the Mod Podge. You can kind of layer them on top of each other like that. And if some of your pieces are still too big, go ahead and rip them up. And the Mod Podge dries pretty quickly, so you want to move kind of fast. But if it dries up on you, no big deal, because we are going to put a layer on top of this as well. And if there's spots where it's dried up on the jar for you so the tissue paper is not staying on, just slide the tissue paper off a little and stick your brush under there and put some more on. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next side now. And you're just going to do this all over your jar. Okay, so once you have your whole first layer on there, you can kind of take a look at it and see if there's any light spots that you want to maybe add a second layer to, or if there's any spots that you missed and want to cover up. You can also wait until this first layer dries and then take another look at it, which is what I'm going to do. So I've got a little spot here that needs to be glued down a little bit better, and then I am going to let this first coat dry. Okay, so now that my first layer of Mod Podge has pretty much dried on here, I can kind of see like there's a couple areas that I missed a spot, or like down here it's still pretty see-through, still pretty clear. And especially if you're using white tissue paper like this, waiting for it to dry helps, because like right here my glue is still not dry, so it looks more solid and white than it is. So if you're using a color like white where the glue matches, then you might want to wait for it to dry completely. So I'm just going to put a few more little pieces on here in those areas that I missed and that are really light before we move on. Okay, I think that looks good, so I'm going to move on to the next part. Okay, so now I'm going to move all of this tissue paper aside since I'm done with it, and I am going to get my little face pieces over here. And I'm going to pick a side. If I can tell which side had the embossment on it, ours has it on just two sides here. So the third side is a good side to put the face on. So I'm going to put my face right here on this side. And you do that basically the same way that you did the tissue paper. Just put a little bit of glue where you want each of the pieces to go and stick it on there. And then take a little bit more of the Mod Podge, lighter layer here, and just kind of go over the construction paper lightly so that it stays on there. Next up is my little nose. There. Okay, got all my little stitches on, so I'm just going to cover them up. And this is a really great craft to do if you're throwing a Halloween party and you need some extra decorations, or you want to spruce up your front porch for the trick-or-treaters on Halloween, or even if you have, if you have kids who don't like to carve pumpkins. My little cousin hates the smell of pumpkin guts, so this is a really nice alternative. Or for kids who are too young to carve pumpkins, basically you are just gluing things onto a jar So they can definitely do that with you, as long as you are helping them out. Okay? We'll make sure that this is on there well. Got glue over all of my little construction paper face parts. So then again, we have to let it dry. Alright, and then once your layer of Mod Podge over your little facial features is dry, it should dry clear, so you don't have any of the white Mod Podge over there, and your jar is done. You're ready to pop a candle in there and set it out on the front porch.